Thank you, everyone, for joining me or for watching. So, as mentioned, my name is Brian Watkins. I've been involved in learning and development and talent management for over 25 years. Recently started working as doing my own business, teaching managers. And one of the things that I found was I started watching Ted Lasso because I heard such great things about it. And it was everything people said. It was entertaining, it was enjoyable, it was all those great things. But as I was watching it, I was noticing all these great lessons that I could use and could think about from a professional standpoint. So I really kind of put this together with some of my favorite parts of the show, to because I think they're lessons that we could all use to help us be better professionals, better people. And it doesn't matter if you're a manager, a CEO, or an individual contributor, these lessons really do apply. So I have a baker's dozen of things. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, that's okay. I'll kind of give some intro to it. If you have, you'll notice you'll be able to pick where these scenes came from pretty easily. Um, so the first one, um, the premise of the show is your typical sitcom, something that would never happen in real life, but a small college football coach who was successful gets hired to run a premier soccer league team in Europe. So he gets to go overseas in a sport he doesn't know, going from a low level college to the highest professional level there is. And it just makes no sense. But one of the things that you see with Ted Lasso and the way he handles things, he realized it's about people. It's not about being the expert. Things get very specialized now. We're all very, there's so much information and it's so hard to be an expert that you can't expect someone to be an expert in everything. He realizes that by connecting to people, he can get the most out of them. He doesn't have to be an expert at soccer. He doesn't have to be an expert at anything other than people. In learning and development, my career, I've worked for banks, I've worked for automotive repair, retail, dry cleaning, you name it. I've probably worked in that business. And people are like, how can you do that? Those industries are so different. And it's because people learning is the same, right? And that's really where he focuses on. He doesn't try and be the soccer expert. He's like, they've got those. They've got great players. They've got a lot of those people, but he knows how to deal with people. So expertise at times is necessary. Obviously, if you're about to go into surgery, you want a doctor who's actually done that surgery before. But a lot of time we let expertise get in the way of relating to people. Oh, well, they're perfect for the job because they've been in the insurance industry before. Well, but it may not be an insurance industry thing. It may be people related. So Ted Lasso is a great example because you'll notice he doesn't go in and be the expert. He is simply dealing with people. And that's the best way to go about it. Second key lesson, and one of my favorites, is relationship power is greater than positional power. So you see the two people you see on the screen, there's Ted Lasso, and right next to him is my favorite character, Roy Kent. Roy is an aging soccer star. He was great in his day, but getting at the end of his career, not quite as sharp as he used to be, still the captain, but a real kind of curmudgeon-y guy. Tells it like it is, uses a swear word every other, part of every sentence. Very direct, very, in your face. And in the first episode, Roy Kent goes to see Ted Lasso in the office, and Ted's like, "What can I do for you?" He's being his cheerful self, and Roy basically insults him. Says, "I can't believe they hired you. You're a clown. This is a joke." Right? Now, most managers or leaders probably would have said something like, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm in charge, so you got to do it my way." Ted doesn't do that. Ted just goes, "Okay," and just deals with it. And when he walks out, he turns to the assistant coach and says, "If you think he's mad now, wait till we turn it." Right? He doesn't take positional power because he realizes that's not the most effective thing. He knows he has to build those relationships over time, right? And that relationship is much more important than the position. So when you think about your career, are you getting results because of the relationships you've built or because of your position? Position is fleeting. It never lasts, but relationships do last forever, right? So he knows I'm going to get you all to like me and agree with me, right? And to respect me. He's not worried about saying I'm the manager, you're doing it my way. Right? And it's stunning when he does it, because I think our first reaction would have been, well, too bad I'm in charge. Right. But he doesn't do that. So it's awesome. Third, define your vision of success. So Ted, when he goes over, obviously never having dealt with football or soccer before, he dealt with American football. He's like, you guys have ties and no playoffs, and it's weird thing going on. And what you see as he goes, he kind of says that he talks about how he hates ties and he wants a winner or loser and all those things. And you see that, but what you see in how he deals with people is he doesn't care about the wins and losses. He cares about the performance. Did you try? Did we learn? Did we go things? He has a very clear definition of success. And it's not the wins and losses. It's the effort. It's how did you do it? And those type of things. One of the things, if you watch the show, and it's a very, very subtle thing, but in episode 1, he's hanging up pictures. And one of the pictures he hangs up is a triangle. And it's the John Wooden Pyramid of Success. And it appears in a couple different episodes. One episode's Roy's kind of looking at it, trying to figure things out. Nate's trying to look at it and figure things out. And the reason that's important is because one of the things John Wooden used to teach, and if you don't know who John Wooden is, he's one of the greatest basketball coaches in history, was with UCLA, won like 10 straight championships. His teams were the greatest. But one of the things John Wooden used to say is, I never cared about wins and losses. If we performed up to our capabilities, that was all we could do. Sometimes people would be better than us, right? And that you see that attitude with Ted Lasso. And that's the attitude he communicates to everyone. So he's very clear in his definition of success, and he tells everyone what his definition is. And that's not something that we do naturally. So if your definition is that promotion or getting that project done on time or whatever it is, make sure it's clear in your head what that success looks like and that you've communicated to others. There's nothing worse than being in a work environment where you all have a different definition of success, because you never figure that out till the end, and usually it causes problems. So it's great that Ted Lasso goes in and he says, my definition is this, and he's constantly reinforcing it. Okay. And this isn't to say he likes winning, right? He likes being the best, but he doesn't make that the criteria. That's just kind of like a bonus. Fix the water pressure. So in one of the first episodes, when he meets the team, he kind of says to them, hey, if there's anything I can do for you, and someone kind of flippantly says in the background, oh, you could fix the water pressure in the shower. And he's like, okay, we're going to do that. Right now, the water pressure is not a big deal. They were surviving without it. They would have continued to survive. But what he knew that did was that improved his say to do ratio. Okay. And the say to do ratio that I like to do says, if I say I'm going to do X, how often do I do it? In an ideal world, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? Every time I say I'm going to do something, I do that thing. We're probably not that good. But every time you do that, or if your ratio is really, really good, people start to trust you. People start to respect you. People start to believe in you. Now, if his ratio was 2-to-1, that means that half the time he says I'm going to do something, he doesn't do it. That doesn't work. You're not going to get people to believe you. So all have to work on that say to do ratio. And it's hard because we say a lot of things as we go, and sometimes we say it offhand or this and that. So we have to pay attention, because every time we say we're going to do something, people are checking up on that. And if that ratio is off, like you said, it's 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, people are going to start going, forget them. Right? So we do that say to do ratio, and that's critical for us. All right. Number 5, learn people's names. So the character you see there is Nate. at the beginning of the series, Nate is the water person. He's the team manager who does the uniforms, makes sure everything's clean, the towels are folded, the shoes are shined, all that stuff. He's a second-class citizen and he knows it, right? When he first meets Ted Lasso says, well, what's your name? And he doesn't answer him at first. And finally he says it and he goes, okay, nice to meet you, Nate. Then later in that episode, he sees Nate. He goes, hey, Nate, how's it going? And Nate physically says, he knows my name, right? It made an impression on him because no one had ever done that before. He was someone who worked in the background. He did all the grunt work. He didn't feel like he was part of the team. Ted purposely goes out of the way. Everyone is part of the team, and he takes the time to learn everybody's name. And not in a manipulative kind of way. We all know that person who knows a little bit about you because they're trying to manipulate and get their way and do this. He's genuine, right? So how much time do you spend as a professional or even personally getting to know other people versus pushing your agenda, right? He doesn't go in and say, hey, Nate, how's it going? Oh, good. Now I want you to do blah, 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 right? He spends time getting to know people's names. He spends time getting to know about them so that he can converse with them before he even gets into anything work related. That's that relationship building. And it shows respect. And that respect carries over. As we see, if you watch the series and it continues on, Nate takes an increasingly more important role, right? So he goes from being the guy who was holding the water things to someone who is really, really good at strategy, who helps form some of the team victories, some of the team successes, right? He didn't just, stay in that position. He grew up. And part of that was because he got the confidence because someone knew his name. He was like, oh, he knows my name. When he asked me a question, he really wants to know those type of things. Ted Lasso teaches us when we get to know people, we're better off in the long run. And that's really what he wants to do. Find your Coach Beard. So Coach Beard is that character you see there. He's my second favorite character. Yep. If you've been paying attention, Ted Lasso in the show named after him is my third favorite character. I really like Roy and Coach Beard better than him. Coach Beard is someone who's been with him a long time, right? We don't know how long, but it's obviously they've had a relationship for years and years and years. And what Coach Beard is Coach Beard is his balancer, right? He's not just his assistant. He's not just his helper. He is a confidant. He is someone who knows Ted and can tell him things in a effective and compassionate way. So when Ted's doing something that might not be right, Coach Beard can let him know, right? Ted goes, hey, I'm thinking this, Coach. What are you thinking? And they have a give and take, and they know each other very well. And by having that person who can tell him things in a way that he understands, it really reinforces a lot of what he's doing. Okay. And having that confidant, that person who could be understanding with you, also honest with you in an effective way, makes him better. He realizes that he needs that balance. So there's one scene towards the end of season 1 where Roy Kent, that aging player, there's discussions. Oh, do we need to sit him? Is putting him on the bench part of the team effort? Is that what we need to do? And Ted Lasso doesn't want to do it, right? Because number one, his say-to-do ratio, he told Roy he wasn't going to bench him, right? So now he's got that say-to-do, but he's also got to think bigger of the team. Okay? Well, when he says, nope, I'm going to let Roy play. And then they're at practice and he says something to the coach and the coach doesn't say anything. And Ted Lasso goes, oh, so you give me the silent treatment. Good. Not upset about it. But it's effective because Coach Beard has kind of let him know, hey, you need to rethink that. He didn't chastise him, didn't start a fight with him. But it's also a little sign that he really knows Ted. When you watch the show, the one thing you see about Ted is he doesn't shut up. He's always talking. He's always chatting. He likes the give and take, the repartee. He does all this thing. Well, by Coach Beard not talking to him, that's a bit, he's going, okay, that's what you like. You're not getting that because you need to think this through. It's a sign he knows him at a deeper level, right? And that's what you want. Who is that person for you who's going to tell you the truth, even when it's not a great truth? Who's that person who's going to do it in a way that's not mean or hurtful, but gets the point across? Someone that you can ask those questions to and get an honest answer back. Everyone's got to have that Coach Beard in their life. I've had many of them in different positions. I've tried to be a Coach Beard for other people, right? And that's how we succeed, by really, really growing that up. Holding people accountable, right? This seems like a simple one. You have to hold people accountable. So the player you see there is Jamie Tart, right? He does it with that nice English accent that I can't quite pull off. Now, Jamie is the young superstar, right? He's what Roy was 10 years ago, right? He's good at the sport. He's the best player on the team. He's good looking. He's rich. He's arrogant. He knows he's the best. He is convinced that the rules don't apply to him because he's really, really good at what he does, right? Well, obviously Ted's going, hey, we're a team, and here's the team way. And he's kind of setting the expectations. And when Jamie doesn't do it, at one point he pulls him out, puts him on the bench. Now, what's interesting is when he pulls him out, he doesn't pull him on the bench. He doesn't, start screaming at him or yelling at him or going, you sit there and you do this type of thing. He just kind of pulls him out and says, it's okay, Jamie, we'll get him next time. Right. And in fact, when he meets the press afterwards, and they're like, you benched your best player. Is he going to be on the bench? They're thinking there's some kind of controversy. And he's like, no, we're going to get this worked out. Jamie's great. We need him. And we're going to get him back out there. He's holding him accountable. He set the expectation. Hey, you're going to play as part of the team. And we want your skills, but not at the expense of the team. And then he compassionately holds him accountable. When I watch a lot of sports, it's one of my things that I enjoy doing. And you see it all the time. Coaches yelling at players, getting in their faces, football coaches grabbing people and screaming, and these having to be separated. That's not Ted. Ted's really just saying, hey, you know what? You're not doing it. I'm going to hold you accountable. And if you're not doing it, you're not going to be here. But I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to yell at you. That doesn't accomplish anything. So think of your career. Do you set those expectations clearly and then hold people accountable? Kind of a side story. So I was managing a team once, and I had a Jamie Tart, really, really good at what he did. Got great results, right? But he liked to bend the rules. He liked to think the rules didn't apply to him. And most of the time it was little things and it didn't bother me type of things. It was just kind of like, gotta deal with this, right? But eventually it got bigger and bigger, right? And I had to make a decision. There's someone whose performance is great, everyone likes, but he's not doing it. How do I hold him accountable? So I worked with him and I talked to him and said, hey, you can't do that. And I said, if you're not, let me know, because this is part of the team. Eventually, I went to my boss and I said, look, he's not going to be part of my team anymore. I don't want to fire him. I'm hoping you could find some place in the company for him, but he's not going to work for me because he's hurting my team. And I was nervous because I'm like, this is a great performer. This is someone who's really good at what he does. Is this the right move? It was the absolute right move, because even though I lost that performance he gave me, the team flowed better. It was more comfortable. I wasn't worried or trying to deal with all these little ticky-tack problems, right? It made everyone more comfortable. So you have to hold people accountable. Good ideas come from anywhere. Now in this picture, if you need to know anything about Ted Lasso and his personality, it's the fact that he took the magnets used for diagramming the play and made a happy face with eyebrows, right? That's the essence of him. So in this particular episode, they need to win. Winning is very important. It's the difference between them staying in the part they are or getting kicked down to a lower league. But they're playing the best team in the league, right? There's no way they match up talent-wise with him. So he gets the idea, someone kind of gives him the idea that they can't win the normal way. They've got to win by creating chaos. So the first thing he does is he pulls all the players in, which is what you see here, and he says, tell me every trick play you've ever learned. And they just start writing them on the board, right? All these different trick plays. And Ted Lasso goes, well, I've got one to put the Lasso special up there, right? And they do all these trick plays, and then he goes, okay, we're going to go learn all these because we're going to win with chaos, right? And then they go out and practice. Now, he didn't go, oh, first of all, he got the idea from someone else to create the chaos. And then he pulled everybody in. He didn't say, here's my plan, here's my idea, here's how you're going to execute. He pulled everybody in. He said, you've got an idea, you've got an idea, you've got an idea. Let's pull this all together, right? And then they actually did it. And in the episode, he doesn't, when the game's going on, he doesn't even call the plays. That's the captain on the field, right? And it's funny because at one point the captain calls for the Lasso specials to play, and he's excited like a little kid. They're calling my play. They're calling my play, right? You know, he knows those good ideas come from anywhere. Nate, who was that, you know, the water boy, the team manager, right? He knew Nate had good ideas and moved him up. He had all these great things that he was doing with people. He solicits suggestions from everyone. He doesn't care who you are if it's not your department. He wants to know what you think, right? You all have a say in it. This wasn't in it, but you can really imagine him meeting the person who does marketing and saying, you know, what'd you think of the game? What could we have done better? Or the guy in the ticket booth, whatever it is. He knew that he, you know, these ideas come from everywhere. And not only does he get help, right? Because again, he's not an expert at soccer, but he's making everybody feel connected. Everybody is a part of this, right? And that's the thing. So when you're working, are you soliciting suggestions from everyone? Are you taking information from everywhere? Are you making connections that aren't normally there? I will tell you flat out, some of my best ideas in a professional learning and development, talent development setting have not come from professional settings. It's come from watching my children and their schooling growing up, saying, oh, your teacher's doing that? Oh, wow. I got to think about that. Is that something I could do? Or watching just general day-to-day interactions. Funny story with COVID, and maybe some of you have heard this. It was West Virginia was doing their COVID testing, and they had the long lines, right? This was at the very beginning of it type thing, long lines and people in cars, and it wasn't going well. And they were trying to figure out how to make this go efficient and faster and be able to do this. So the mayor called the manager of the Chick-fil-A, and he said, hey, you seem to be able to do these drive-through lines really easily. What can you know, what are we doing wrong? The manager from the Chick-fil-A came and said, well, do this and do this and do this. And everything got like 20 times better, right? Solicit suggestions from anywhere. You'll be amazed at what you find. Now we're getting into the last few and some of the great ones. Be curious, not judgmental, is a phrase that you'll hear a lot of people say. So to kind of set this up, the owner of the soccer team is a woman who got the team in a divorce. Her husband was a, you know, cheating on her, rich guy, really kind of a jerk, right? And every time we see him, he's like making her uncomfortable, right? He's dating this younger woman who's the same name as her, and he likes to flaunt it. And he's really kind of a jerk. I'll say that's the nice way to say it. So in this one episode, though, he's kind of in this pub, and he's really getting on her nerves. And Ted kind of jumps in, and he kind of gets between it, and he goes, "Hey, I know you guys play a lot of darts here. How about I play you a game of darts? If I win, you leave her alone. If you win, I'll let you make the roster of the team." Of course, this guy is like, and he happens to then pull out after he agrees, he pulls out his professional darts that he's got. And he's like, oh, I've hoodwinked this guy. This American thinks he's going to beat me, and he doesn't. Ted can play darts, right? And as he's doing this, he gets to this part and he starts going into this little soliloquy. And he says, you know, people have always underestimated me, and it bothered me for a long time. But then I saw this phrase, be curious, not judgmental. And I realized they weren't underestimating me. They were just judging me. They weren't curious about me. And as he's doing this, he's hitting all these great shots. And he kind of says, in fact, as we entered this, if you would have been curious and not judgmental, you would have said, well, Ted, have you played a lot of darts? And I would have said, yes, sir. Every Saturday with my father growing up at the sports bar, right? People looked at his appearance and this and that. They weren't curious about it. They were judgmental. Oh, he's American. He can't possibly know this. Oh, he doesn't have our culture. He doesn't do this. He can't know these things. So think of it from a professional standpoint. Again, even a personal standpoint. When something's happening, do you ask why and be curious about it? Or do you make judgments and say, why not? Right? One of the things I see with businesses a lot is I work with different departments and I say, they're trying to solve problems. And I go, well, what about this? Oh, no, we tried that. What about this? Oh, no, that won't work. Right? They're very quick to tell me all the things that won't work. Right? But, a lot of times it's like, well, why? What can we do differently? So that be curious. Let's start asking more why questions. Let's start to figure out all these things and not be so judgmental. And that applies for people, that applies for situations, that applies for problems, right? Let's not judge things. Let's be curious about them. No one's bigger than the team, right? I mentioned my one example before of the one guy who was always trying to go against the rules, right? Was always trying to bend the rules. He if you've seen anything, if you haven't watched a show, you've probably seen these believe stickers around, right? That the Ted Lasso fans wear. That's Ted's mantra, believe. He's got those signs up. That's one of the first things he does is he puts that sign up in the locker room. He's got them all over his apartment. He even jokes about it, right? Believe. Because when you believe, things can happen, right? And no one becomes bigger than the team. And as you start to believe, you believe in each other. That's kind of the unspoken thing. Believe is at first, I can do this. But as the team melds and as thing comes together and you start to do all these other things, you're curious, you're knowing each other's names, you're getting to know them personally, you start to realize that believe means we could do it all together. Okay. He doesn't let performance mask those personality issues. He doesn't let Jamie get away with what he wants. Roy gets away with some stuff, but only because he's the captain. And when I say get away with stuff, he does things though that a captain would do so that and Ted doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to take charge. He knows Roy's going to do it. And that's Roy's position. So he doesn't let those personalities, right? Or that high performance get in the way of the team. And that's what he pushes through the whole thing. No one is bigger than the team. And in that scene, they're all coming together in a very key time, right? And it's a crystallizing moment because you can see everyone in the team, they had been struggling and having some success and were starting to buy into it. And it was a pivotal time. It was like, okay, we were starting to buy into it. Now some stuff's going wrong. What do we do? And they all coalesced around that belief sign, right? And that's when you knew they were a team. That's when you knew that everything had kicked in, right? So no person is bigger than the team because we all lift each other up. Optimism is infectious. So the character you see there with his arms out is Danny Rojas. He's a fun character. He doesn't have huge parts in it, but Danny comes in and he's a soccer player and he just runs around saying, football is life. He's got that, that accent. He's football is life. And he makes Ted Lasso, who's the most optimistic person you would ever meet. He makes him seem like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, right? He's always running around really happy and full speed, 100 miles an hour, doing everything, right? And Ted doesn't try and Ted encourages it. He uses it because one of the things he knows is optimism is infectious, right? All of us impact the people around us. We've all been in those situations where, professionally, where someone comes into the room and you can just feel the meeting energy go down because this person's negative. They're always saying no, they're doing this. They're always kind of complaining and blah, blah, blah. And then that person leaves and the energy kind of goes up, right? We all do that. We have an energy and what we do infects everyone else. I heard a Navy SEAL speak several years ago. And, Navy SEALs, right? So these are the people who are getting in the situation where there are bullets over their head, bombs going off. They're trapped in enemy territory, the worst of the worst. If any people have a reason to panic, it is them. And this Navy SEAL said one of the things we're taught is calm is contagious. Because when I'm calm, that helps everyone around me be calm. And when we're all calm, we can think of things better, right? So all of us are impacted. So as you're going through your day and you're interacting with your coworkers, your team, your family, your friends, are you the one who's encouraging them or dragging them down? What are you infecting them with? Right? And you may go, well, I guess I'm a little negative, but I'm just really kind of venting. But when you do it repeatedly, it sucks energy out of people, right? Doesn't mean you always have to be happy. Hey, I'm always this, but what are you doing the most of the time? Okay. Are you encouraging people with your, optimism and your positivity, or are you infecting them with something that's bringing them down? 2 more to go. We're getting near the end here. So be a goldfish, another great one. So the player you see there is Sam. Sam is a great evolution throughout the 2 seasons. He starts as a player that's young, got a lot of talent, but making mistakes, not really doing well. And in this episode, this is one of the first episodes again, Sam makes a mistake in practice and he's kind of like, he's dragging his head. And Ted calls him over and says, hey, do you know what the happiest animal on earth is? And Sam's kind of looking at him like, what are you talking about? And he goes, it's a goldfish. And you know why that is? Because a goldfish only has a memory of 10 seconds. So he forgets all the bad stuff that happens to him. He doesn't let the bad stuff infect him. He's just going about his day. He doesn't remember anything. Now, I have no idea if that's true or not. That could be some false thing, some wives' tale, some made up thing. But think about the beauty of it. It's like you can't change the past. Unless one of you have invented a time machine that I'm not aware of, we can't change the past. So learn from it, move on, let it go, right? Because when you let those mistakes stay in your head, it's hard, it makes things kind of a trudge, and you're more likely to make that mistake. But when you let it go, you can move forward. You can go, okay, I learned from this and I'm going to do this next time. And that's what everything's about, moving forward. When I teach managers and I coach managers, one of the things I tell them is everything you tell your employees, everything you tell your team should be about helping them be better tomorrow, not about correcting them from yesterday. And that's a big shift, right? Because we've all had bosses who yell at us because we did stuff wrong. And I'm like, you could tell them they did stuff wrong, but in a context of fixing it tomorrow. Don't worry about that. You can't fix that. Here's what we're going to do better tomorrow. This be a goldfish kind of resonates. It comes back several times throughout the show. It becomes a little catchphrase. So later in the series, Ted kind of says, be a goldfish. And he says it to the team and they're all kind of looking. Sam goes, he means let's forget our mistakes and move on. And then they say it a couple times and everybody starts to understand it. And they're like, oh, okay. It's that goldfish is like, don't let it get to you. We got stuff ahead of us. Don't live in the past where you can't change it. Let's move forward. Last one, and my favorite one, right? Every choice is a chance. So in this episode, the team finds out something embarrassing about Ted, but they find out about it through the press. Newspaper got the story and leaked it. Okay. Ted calls the team together, practices, and he says, guys, look, I'm sorry that you heard that from this newspaper and not from me. And the whole team's like, don't worry about it. We got your back. We're here for you, coach. Da, 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 da. And he's like, no. I know you are, but you need to understand, I didn't trust you. I had a chance to share this with you myself and show you I trusted you and ask you for help. And I didn't do it. And I'm sorry that I ruined that chance, that I missed that chance. And it's a powerful message because think about it. Everything in life, I mean, we have choices hundreds, if not thousands of times a day. What am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? What am I going to, if I'm going to exercise, am I not going to exercise? Am I going to go to the doctor, not go to the doctor? All these different things, right? We think of them as decisions we have to make. We don't think of them as choices that help us move forward, right? He was saying every little thing I do is a choice. And that choice, it may not be a binary good and bad, but there's one choice that takes a positive and there's one choice that takes a negative. Okay. Think about any success you've had in your life, be it in a project or an event or a family situation, whatever. What you realize is that success wasn't one thing, it was a series of choices that you made along the way. Okay. I was part of a team that we designed a learning program that won an international award. It was a huge deal for our company. Right. And what I realized is that end result that we got that award for, and that award itself, that was a series of choices, of things we did along the way, times where we worked a little harder, times we said that didn't work, we have to fix it and make it better. All these little choices made up this thing. So every one of those little choices is a chance, right? Hey, I'm going to eat dinner. Oh, I'm tired. I'm just going to grab something from McDonald's. Well, that's not good for my health, right? I'm going to take a little more effort and make that salad. Every choice is your chance to do something that helps you, helps society, helps this, right? Taking those little things and taking those choices. So I'm about to end up, kind of do my conclusion, but if you get nothing else out of it, if hopefully you were entertained for the last 40 minutes or so, but realize that every choice you have is a chance to do something great. You never know where it'll happen, but always think about those choices. And when you make the wrong choice, be a goldfish and forget it. So with that, I'll open it up to questions in a second, but I do want to say thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to be here or to watching it on video. This is something that you hopefully can tell I'm passionate about and interested in and find very helpful. And if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, go watch it. It's an awesome show. I'm hoping for season 3. I'm going to have to redo some slides probably, but I'm hoping for season 3 coming out soon. So with that, I will say thank you. And I will turn it over to anyone who wants to ask any questions.